of vidui, which means to confession. He says vidui tzarich lizayer bo midei omro oto. Person has to be very careful to say the vidui properly. Lo yigra afilu pam achad omro be'achna'ah rabbah. You should not forego saying the confession full-heartedly. Every time you should say it wholeheartedly. Kol bochim, with the crying voice. Even if a person is not crying, you should try to use a crying voice to at least show where he wishes to be emotionally when he's talking about his sins. He says, "Ubehasir elu atanaim ha'eder tov mitziot hara ki hu chutzpah azut panim k'dei bizayon b'ketzev ki cheraf Hashem b'kinoto ki yomar akriv vidui zilev pachtecha ol ish kamocha yetzecha o yisa panecha." He says, and the person who says the vidui, he should make sure not to say it with a fake face. He should not say it even though he doesn't mean it. The person who's coming to ask for forgiveness, if it's obvious that the person who's saying the forgiveness doesn't mean it, it's hurtful. It means you don't take the person seriously. If you're coming to Hashem and asking for forgiveness and you don't really know what you're saying, you're just going through it, mumbling. The Chafetz Chaim, I love Hashem, used to say, some people when they do the chatati aviti pashati, they hit their chest. Some of them, they're making more room in their heart for more sin. Just like by a flour man, you sell in the shuk the flour. Sometimes you punch the bag to fit more flour in, make sure it's packed in nice so you could add more. Some people, God forbid, they could be hitting their chest to pack in more. So the person has to make sure that when he's hitting his chest, he really means it, and he's saying, "I'm hurt. It's hurting me that I'm doing these sins, and I want to stop." And he says, "Akol panim chava mutel alenu nishtadel b'rov oz b'chol kochenu." We have to try as much as we can to have kavanah. He says, "Yitzer b'da'ato ke'omed lefei melech." You have to imagine you're standing before the king. He says, "Yachshov ki tov haya lo sheyamut." He says the person has to know that if it makes sense that Hashem should kill a person right when he should do a sin. But Hashem has mercy, and Hashem has teshuvah, and He wants us to teshuvah, and He loves us, and He gives us many chances. He has to be happy that Hashem gave him the ability to do confession. He says, "V'yachshov gam keshu magid tzarato lifnei Avi shebashamayim." And you're talking to Avinu Shebashamayim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not just a king; He's our Father in heaven. You talk to your father about things that bother you. Talking about to your father how your day was pretty bad. You fell in this. You wish you could have been better in that. You have advice for me. You can help me. So a person has to realize he's doing the same thing in confession when he speaks to Hashem. He speaks to his father. He say, I'm very hurt that this happened. I wish it didn't happen. And the person should feel that he's talking to Avinu Shebashamayim. And tell him how you feel, how upset you were that happened. And you want to start over and you want to continue. And he says, Matov Manaim Lamar Pachot Pa'am Achad B'Shavua Seder Vidui B'Aruka. He says, it's good once a week a person should say a long vidui. You should go and do a complete, cheshbon nefesh, calculation of the soul, and see what sins he does. Go through a list and say, this I have to work on, that I have to work on, this I have to get rid of. Because if a person doesn't pay attention, he could go through his life not realizing what sins he does. And he says, a person has to realize that Kadosh Baruch Hu is so kind that in Judaism, what do we teach? When you admit, you get forgiven. Modeh ve'ozev iroham. The one who admits and he leaves the sin, Hashem has mercy on him. And the person who withholds it, he pretends as if he didn't do it. He holds it from Hashem. He doesn't talk about it to Hashem ever. He doesn't confess. He acts as if he never did a sin. He hides and does the sins on the side and never admits he did it. Such a person, it's harder for Hashem to give him teshuvah. Hashem doesn't forgive him in that situation. And part of being forgiven, part of doing teshuvah, the Rambam writes, one of the integral parts is confession. You have to admit. By the goyim, they tell you, keep everything hush hush. Don't admit. Everything, throw it under the carpet. Nobody knows. Don't tell. Everybody shalom Yisrael. By Judaism, it's the opposite. If you admit and you say what you did to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem forgives you. So therefore, a person has to be in the custom always being open book with Hashem and not being hush hush and hiding things. When you hush hush and hide things, that's when Hashem is more makpid. When Hashem is more meticulous with you. But if you admit, if you're open door with Hashem and open book, HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgives you. He has mercy on you. And therefore, a person has to try to do the vidui properly. Every time you do vidui, you should have in mind, I don't want to do this again. I want to stop. Real teshuvah. What's real teshuvah? Teshuvah is when you don't do it again. The first step, the Rambam writes, is that you stop the sin and then you start confessing. So the first step is to stop. Person who does teshuvah, I'll wake up next after I did a sin and I'll give tzedakah, I'll go mikvah, I'll hit my chest and then Hashem forgave me, even though I'm going to go back to do it again. It doesn't work. The Rambam says, imagine a person is holding tumah in his hand, right? He's holding tumah, and he goes to the mikvah to become pure, to go to the temple. He did in the mikvah, holding the tumah, he came out from the mikvah, what is he holding? He's holding the tumah, he became tameh right away again. Same thing with a person over here. He's doing teshuvah. The first step of teshuvah is get rid of the tumah. Let go of the tumah. Don't hold it in your hand anymore. And then you can start doing teshuvah. So in this month of Elul, we want to do confession. You have to realize, admit, you win. You let go of the sin, you win. But if you hide it and you don't let it go, God forbid. So therefore, we should also to have rachamim and senichot from HaKadosh Baruch Hu.